Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Quantic. Thanks to the host for introducing us. Any discussion pertaining to generative AI is going to be quite interesting for all of us. While some of us, as you'd have heard a little bit of intro, have experienced it, but it's always going to be a learning. It kind of reminds me, 1 year back, I could think of September 2023. Coming from the finance industry, I work at Nomura. We were having a discussion with my digital IQ head. Hey, this generative AI is making a lot of noise. How do we go about a similar panel discussion? And 12 months back, the panel discussion was about generative AI, boon or bane. And from there to what we are talking about here, generative AI redefining innovation. So that's the sort of fast forward that has happened in the evolution of generative AI. I am also a voracious reader. I follow a lot of these thinkers. One of them, I'm sure some of you might have also like him. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, the famous author of *Sapiens*. Absolutely. You know, when generative AI came into the market, the first thing that he mentioned was it's the first tool in the human history. It's the first tool in the human history that can make decisions by itself. He also started off with another introduction. He also said this is again a first tool to create new ideas by itself. He said this like probably 1.5, 2 years back, so we all know that that's obviously the first tool by now. The interesting thing that he mentioned was he took one step further and said, while all of this is fine, humans generally are not very good at new tools or technology. Humans make mistakes. There is going to be a learning curve. It's not that what's available in the market, plug and play, and just go ahead with it. We need to exercise a lot of caution. Not just him, we also have some of the great peoples like Elon Musk talking about how generative AI is going to completely transform and revolutionize the very word innovation. So I wanted to start off this entire conversation when Quantic approached us, how do we go about it? I just thought we need to structure this entire presentation in a slightly different way. Time is ticking, so we need to see how best we can provide you, audience, with as many inputs as possible, given that the panelists are from diverse fields. A few data points, given that I come from the financial background, and I'm going to be asking questions, thankfully, and my panelists are going to be responding. I thought I'll start off with quickly on a few data points, at least from our side. So I also contribute to the research in the firm. 60%, note this number, 60% of financial institutions have either implemented or plan to implement generative AI-based solutions in the next 1 year. It's a good number, and this number perhaps would have been 10%, 20% sometime back. 60% is what the research says. And more importantly, 70% of the use cases have gone beyond the POCs and the pilots. They are all either in the testing and adoption phase. So there is already a lot of traction in terms of looking at use cases, not calling it out like these are all for the labs. Companies are, in fact, looking at adopting some of these use cases. What sort of use cases? What are the drivers? Are these use cases about using generative AI to fly aircraft? No. What are the principal drivers? Three top drivers most of the firms are looking at. Number one is increased productivity, efficiency. Number two, firms are looking at employee engagement, how effectively employees could be engaged. You talk about Copilot, that's a classical example. It has an overlap with productivity, but employee engagement is the second principal driver. The third one that we have is some of the firms have just jumped the gun and are looking at customer activity, enhanced customer engagement. How could these three triggers be put to use using generative AI solutions? That's what most of the companies are looking at. Maybe this would have put a question in your mind, what about revenue generating opportunities? Some of us are constantly being asked by our superiors. Yes, it's very much there, but still it's in the exploratory mode. Some companies have tried it, made it customers are touching and feeling the generative AI solution, but it will take some time to prove in terms of the ROIs. So which is what I'm super excited to get all these people here to ask the right set of questions. So what we will do is, we will gradually look at the phase, how this is being structured is, we'll ask for the right use cases from all these elite panelists that we have. We'll directly go into the most important aspect. Whenever there is an AI, there's going to be prefix attached to any AI-based application, responsible AI, right? Why is this AI being used? So we want to bring that responsibility early on into the conversation. So that's the second part of what we will look at. We'll build on to that in terms of looking at infrastructure. Infrastructure, what sort of generative AI is really useful? Do we build it? Do we buy it? How do we optimize costs? And the ROI question, which we are going to ask all the panelists. Post that, it's all not machines and machines. We're all flesh and blood. We can pinch and feel ourselves. So we need to have something about the talent. How about the skills that need to be developed? So that's how this entire structure is put together for this wonderful session with all these elite panelists. We have 38 minutes to go, which is fantastic, I see. May I start off? Good to see you. Thank you. Maybe then I'll come to this. You can settle down for some time. May I start off asking all our fellow panelists to pick up in your industry, and they are from diverse industry, folks. This is a fantastic panel. I have attended and moderated multiple panels. This is where we are seeing from the financial side, we have from the health sector, we have from the education sector, we also have someone on the technology side from the aviation sector, of course, financial industry, and the last person on the side, in the extreme left to me, is again on the health sector. So different supply chain is also what we have. So may I ask you, the first question, starting from you, is what sort of prominent use cases that you have in your industry?
Hello, everyone. I am Tushar. I am from Landmark Group, and I am representing the retail company. So the majority, the main use cases that we are kind of doing is basically related to, which are not customer directly facing, all the internal kind of facing use cases that we are doing where the productivity can be increased. For customer facing, we are directly not getting into the chatbots and those areas. Of course, the main use cases that we are trying to build are related to recommendation engines, then customer segmentations. We have got a lot of internal work related to translations because we cater Arabic customers as well. Then we have got internal a knowledge base that we are creating so that all developers and all the team members can leverage this particular knowledge. Because as we know that as people move the organization, the knowledge is lost. So we are trying to bridge that particular gap. So these are some of the main use cases that we are looking into. Thanks.
Yeah. So I bring the edtech or the education side of expertise to this table, and I mean, with the trend, edtech has been the industry which has adopted GenAI to a larger extent. And since it's a content game, of course, when you're in a learning space, GenAI generates content, and edtech is something which consumes and make money out of it. So I mean, from the two use cases, which is really transforming the user experience and, of course, to the business, is imagine a situation where when you are in your school days, you have your exam, you are standing right in front of the test center. What do? You just quickly go to your book. You must be having some sticky notes to a particular page. And to that page, if you roll to that page, you'll have your markers, highlighting some of the paragraphs. Cut to GenAI in edtech. We transformed, we inherited the same user journey in our use case, where from a video, which is a 4-hour lengthy video, or a piece of content which is a lengthy content, with GenAI we are able to summarize that, put it into a nugget shape, and a user can bookmark the minutes from where he wanted to learn and quickly ponder, and then go and write the examination. So that's one of the use cases. The second key use case is on where you interact with a chatbot. Of course, chatbot, conversational AI being the very early eye catcher in all the domains. So with chatbot, it's just not about responding to academic queries. It's also about delivering recommendations in terms of analyzing the report from student perspective, a report, and then recommending based on his performance. So that's another use cases which is being accepted by our students, our users very well. So yeah, pretty much these two use cases.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I heard recommender systems. I also heard about making all of us super knowledgeable with the fact what you just mentioned. I mean, I'm already looking at the future where the results probably of whatever grade that they are in, the students are going to be benefited. Fantastic. Okay, so we move on from your side on your use cases.
Oh, thanks, Sita. Okay. I come from ABS and MRO organization. What we do is we manage and maintain aircrafts. Right? That's our primary service that we offer to our customers, airlines, defense, and business jets. From conversational AI, we have been using it for our aircraft engineers to use when they work on the aircraft to look for parts or even to update the work order. So that's been there in use. But when it comes to GenAI, from AVs and MRO's perspective, the prime use case is predictive maintenance. As aircraft produces, huge amount of data and the maintenance record, when customers send the aircraft to us, as an airline, they don't prefer an aircraft being grounded because that's revenue loss for them. So when they send the aircraft to us for maintenance, the turnaround time is very, very critical for us, how fast we complete the maintenance and return the aircraft. Okay. So this is where GenAI is being explored, how we can use to predict the failures and the path failures, or even the requirements before the aircraft comes to us. So this is one of the primary use cases. The second is inventory management, because inventory and supply chain plays very important role for MRO company like us, as most of the aircraft part comes outside country. So when the aircraft is with us and we wait for the parts to come, so that's a very critical factor. So that also where we try to explore GenAI. So there are many use cases, but MRO organizations are exploring GenAI in these two primary use cases.
Fantastic. I think when you said there are many use cases beyond predictive maintenance and inventory management, I thought he's going to say, help airplanes fly, we are using generative AI. I was almost shocked, but good that it's probably not in that cadre yet.
Aircraft is becoming more and more connected machine, so the day is not very far.
Okay, thank you so much, Ram. Over to you, Edwin.
This is Edwin from Novo Nordisk. I think we were one of the first earliest adopters of ChatGPT, at a time when most of the companies were really going out there and asking their employees not to use. We had the safeguarded version of ChatGPT as a wrapper, which was rolled out for all the employees. Also, I think currently almost 25% of all our employees have access to Copilot. And these, I think, are some of the biggest use cases that I could think of, other than a whole lot of other cases that's also going on in GenAI.
Okay, I know you have signed up the complaints letter. Is drug discovery part of the use cases by any chance? Or you feel
I can't speak
you can't speak.
on any specific.
Okay, so that's the cue. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Navneet, and I am from Arya.ag, which is one of the leading agri-tech companies in India. So we provide, in the private sector space, one of the largest commodity warehousing space. We provide financing on the commodity stored in our warehouse, and we also help in trade linkages and advisories to farmer. The impact of Gen AI in agriculture has been, like any other sector, pretty immense, right? So the two very important or impactful manner in which we have deployed Gen AI. So there are 5 lakh trucks in entire year which do inwards in our warehouses across India. And we need to do quality checks, right, of the commodity across the location, across each and every truck, across 10 to 12 parameters depending on which commodity it is. So GenAI has really fast forwarded this process. It has made it more efficient with less human in the loop, and we have more and more accurate data in less and lesser time on the quality of the commodity. The second and most important use case also happens to be with the help of technology, we can now identify the crop sowing area at a district level, at a village level, at a plot level, the crop health, right? So the percentage of biotic stress and abiotic stress which that crop is going through. And by intelligent image processing, you can also tell which type of crop disease has impacted a certain farmer. Now, all this data combined is very impactful for financial institutions. They can know with the help of crop identification and historical cultivation pattern, the estimated income of the farmer and hence decide on the loan. To the agrochemical companies, because they can better optimize their supply chain, right? So wheat in a certain area is impacted by a certain kind of blight or a pest, then the right amount of chemical can be stocked at that dealer point actually, right? So this is how we have been taking the impact of technology in the hand of farmers and other stakeholders in agri-tech.
Thank you, Navneet. Thank you. Manish?
Hello, I'm Manish. I'm from NatWest. This story of GenAI for me is a story of empowerment. It is about my employees in the company, customers. So what we are doing is that, I'm sure you would have seen those chatbots where you ask a question and it gives you 2 pages to read. And then you get to that page, you move to a next page, then another sublink. So we need to surface the information, bring it, make it more handy. And being from banking sector, there is tons and tons of regulatory information. There is tons and tons of our own knowledge bases which are there. So how we can empower, how we can make the work that our team members do, how we can make that faster. So that is one thing. So chatbots have been a very good way of managing this knowledge. Second thing is summarization. There is a lot of places where you need a SME to summarize certain information. You need to have a domain-specific skills. But GenAI can do a lot of that stuff with appropriate guardrails quite well. So that also has been working well for us.
Thank you, Manish. Sudeep?
Thank you for accommodating. I was late, sorry. My name is Sudeep. I work for Healthcare Global Enterprises. It's a chain of 28 cancer specialty hospitals across India. And we have 4 use cases, 2 in clinical and 2 on the business side. Clinical one is on radiology, where we are able to, it is actually an AI use case which has now catapulted to a GenAI use case, which is, and this is the only one which is successful yet. The rest of the 3 are in making. This is about assisting the radiologist in writing their reports and finding out hidden, marks which are there in the tests, which are diagnostic tests which are done. And the second use case on the clinical side is we are trying to identify, cancer, if you diagnose early, the detection helps you treat better at a lower cost, and the life also is better. So we have done a use case through which you can do diagnostics of buccal mucosa cancers, and we'll talk about it more. The 2 business use cases are in the contact center, and the other one is on disallowances. As we speak, because the subject is elaborate, we'll talk about the pluses and minuses and nuances of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sudeep. Isn't it already exciting to know this nature of use cases spread across industries, from agriculture area, adding value and connecting, should I give that loan to the farmer or not? We heard on the financial services side, we also heard on the aviation side and the healthcare side, and also on the edtech side from here. So there's so many use cases out there. The general question that many of us have, which I typically call it as the dichotomy effect. Here you have a segment of people, let's call them the catalyst. They really wanted to look at how effectively we can add as many use cases as possible. Then there is the other side, who are always, putting in constraints. There are important constraints, not to completely negate them. So you have this catalyst on one side, then you have the constraint on the other side. On the catalyst side, if we can start the focus upon, the questions that we have is, there are so many use cases. How do you pick the right use case? Is that ROI driven? How do you get the buy-in? In a large enterprise, even in fintech startups, there are people out there with different views. How do you get the real buy-in? I think that's something very important to know. And when you're trying to bring in a new technology, you're just going to fit into an already existing business process. There's going to be a guardian of those processes. They're going to say, hey, come on, it should not cause a catastrophic impact for us. So how do you ensure, what is the sort of the right catalyst for looking at generative AI use cases? Maybe I can start with our EdTech champion here, Ashutosh.
Okay, good question. Yes. So definitely on the catalyst side, and the reason being, people don't buy product; they buy outcomes. And GenAI, what I have personally experienced is if I'm able to do a POC faster, build a product around it, and reduces the overall time to market, can that be a bigger business? Can that be an investable business? With that thought, we ran a project where we wanted to explore a category, whether, as Manipal, can we create a category of new offering and set around a set of GTMs. But in order to transform that to be a tangible number, tangible business, can we do a quick POC? And this is where GenAI played a pivotal role. We were able to turn off outcome through a GenAI ecosystem, through a GenAI model. We pivoted into a MVP sort in less than a month's time. We presented to management. Management, was very much aligned with the outcomes or the problem this output solves for the students, and management was up and running to invest in this category from second month onwards. So to me, GenAI has really cut down the decisioning in terms of shall I invest in this category or not, is something which I had experienced already. So questions. So for example, in tech, a lot of content are questions, videos. At the moment, I'm serving to, let's say, 3 examination. Can I pick up another examination? What kind of content they need? Can I create through GenAI? Do a POC with user? Will they be willing to pay money in terms of the content quality, the content usability, and its relevancy to the examination? And we were able to pull off very neatly that affair. Yeah.
Understood, Ashutosh. So clarity in the early stages of experimentation.
Yes.
And
yes.
this is a common phrase we've all been familiar with, fail fast, if at all. That's another thing that you're saying.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thanks, Ashutosh. Moving on to my left-hand side, the aviation area. So what sort of buy-in, how does it work for you? What strategies in your sector?
Being an engineering service organization, for us, the drivers or the catalysts that you're referring to could be the operational efficiency. For us, the aircraft maintenance engineer are the critical resource in our operation. So how do we optimize their productivity is a key parameter that we consider in any automation initiative we take. So in the previous answer, I did mention that using chatbot, how do we help them to use chatbot to look for a parts or search for a parts and update the ERP through their mobile itself when they work on the aircraft.
So you show the results
Results,
upfront.
yes. And also automating the task, creating maintenance records or auto order of parts. So these are all area where we can use AI and improve the operational efficiency. The second driver is the safety and compliance. Being aviation, safety plays a very important role. So how technology can be used. So we consider this parameter also for that.
Okay.
Third is obviously competition. So
You have
these
to
are the
keep
three.
up with that. Thanks, Ram. I wanted to have Manish to speak about, you head the generative AI platform. Buy-ins in financial services, I also come from there. It's not easy. Do you take most of your stakeholders for dinner every day for a buy-in, Manish? What's the secret? What's the strategy?
So to educate people about AI and the impact, that is already done. That is already done in a large way. Things like ChatGPT and all have taken the world by storm. So the initial step of education and explaining that impact is already there. What we need to do is that we can do it and we can do it right. That's the most important part of it. So what need to happen is that what we have done in our case is that we have gone across various lines of businesses, looked for the common pattern. There are so many common patterns which are there, which can be used across various line of businesses. And once we do a small experimentation around it, involve our customers when we display the results, that builds the confidence around it. And we have done it for a couple of use cases, and that helped us to get the final buy-in.
Okay, thank you, Manish. I thought you still say that you will take them for dinner. Often it's not easy. I mean, stakeholder management, we all at our different levels of responsibilities we operate is the most difficult thing. But what we are generally getting from a catalyst aspect is show the early wins, show results, show proofs. That will really help, and fail fast is what we spoke about. Nothing unusual in the element of catalyst. We have all heard this fail fast right from the time the great gentleman, I keep forgetting his name, who wrote the book related to startup. Anyway, that's for the next panel discussion. Moving to the other C, which is to do with the constraint. Any new technology obviously are going to have naysayers. I just started off explaining AI has a prefix to it, responsible AI. And responsible AI is not a tick in the box, folks, anymore. Everyone is watching us. Privacy laws are becoming very stringent. We have to develop applications which should not have any bias. There are data protection rules, regulations that need to be followed. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. So from a pure constraint perspective, maybe I will start with our health panelist here, Sudeep. Not an easy thing, and we are talking about using generative AI, and you're talking about patient care. How do you handle all these constraints?
Actually, like him, we did not have to explain anything. People are taking to it. But when you said that we have to be responsible, I would like to add the word explainability. That was very important. And I said, out of the 4 use cases, 1 is successful. Others, we have the difficulty of explainability. I'll just quote a quick example. We did an experiment in Maharashtra somewhere, and we were immensely successful. We took the same model of diagnosis to Northeast. We were from a 92% accuracy, we came down to 78, 74% accuracy, and we realized that the parameters are to be tweaked. And there was an inherent bias in the same geography because of ethnicity, food habits. So it took us a while. It took us 5 to 6 months to realize why is the model failing, until and unless we read through and understood, consulted people like our fraternity here, then we realized that explainability is important, and doctors started losing interest in the project because they said that it is not happening. So explainability is very important, and we have to constantly work on those parameters. Thanks.
Understood. Thanks, Sudeep. Maybe I can bring in Manish again here. I know you spoke about the catalyst, which is easy. How about the constraints in the financial sector?
So there is an upfront investment which is there, to make these services available. And you need to have right guardrails. A lot of time all these projects go through a risk assurance process, and there can be difficulties in explaining the every step out of it, what Sudeep also told us. So constraints are there, if you don't have right guardrails, if you don't manage the risk right, if you don't take the, those iterative steps, that can also become a problem. So it is what I will say, a good risk management could resolve this. But there are more challenges, and I'm sure that other panelists will mention them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Manish. Navneet, on the same point, related to the space that you're operating, agriculture, benevolence for the people, how these constraints play out?
Yeah, sure. Building, my response to this question on top of what Ashutosh said, right? People buy outcomes. So with Gen AI in agriculture, we are generating more content, faster content, accurate content, right? But at the end of the day, when a farmer clicks the picture of the crop and the AI is unable to tell or inform him or her that what's the disease type, they are still away from the moment of truth. And that moment of truth is, okay, for this pest, here is the recommendation of agrochemical in this amount of dosage, and this is where you can order, and it will land in your field, for example, in 3 days. So the information or the intelligence needs to be embedded very deeply into the supply chain for this to become a real meaningful impact, right? Otherwise, the constraint will be greater than the catalyst.
And rightly said, Navneet, on that. We started off saying just good, right? So that they're all gone and we go into the catalyst area.
Yeah, I think I would agree a lot with the explainability piece, right? Because typically the LLMs are looked at as black boxes where you're given a set of inputs and you get the outputs. But what was actually the process to get there? Adding to that, I think it's also about the problem of hallucination. That's a very real problem. And there are ways to address it by citing the sources from which the information is coming, getting the user feedback. But still, it still lies as one of the real problems which needs to be addressed before we actually progress.
Okay. I think the good thing about the whole advancement of generative AI is there is a sense of building applications that really solve problems. At the same time, we're not losing track. And going back to what the researcher did say, that humans make mistakes, we need to be focused upon, and that's where these guardrails are being talked about in the form of constraints. So that's really good to know. Thank you, folks. We just shift gears now to something which really makes generative AI work, the technology part of it, the infrastructure part of it. I just wanted to, as always, I keep doing, dumping data points. There is a research from an established firm which says that the average spend in 2023 on generative AI application development build is $1 million. Just an audience question. 2023. Let's not talk about huge giants like Google or Goldman Sachs. We're talking about an average mid-sized company with the potential of taking risks is minimal. What do you guys think? An average spend? Just throw a number. 2023, 24, current fiscal. Okay. I heard somebody say the answer, but the answer is $2 to $2.5 million, which is roughly, if you translate it, is 1 to 2% of our typical IT budget. And today we are sitting in a panel discussion and talking about generative AI. 1 to 2% of IT budget on an average company. Is it too high? Is it too low? How can this really increase if generative AI is the buzzword all around? So there is this senior management thinking about budgets, how much we need to increase the investment. That's one side. And everyone is focused on the results. So there is a spend part which is directly proportional to the returns everybody is expecting. And then at the end of the day, it's about the optimal cost of the infrastructure. And that's where I wanted to bring in Tushar first to talk about how he sees from a generative AI infrastructure perspective, what are the optimization strategies? Should I buy a huge license from OpenAI, pay up those many $1 million, or should I use an open source solution like a Llama or Sonnet 3.5 GPT? What is the best strategy? Build versus buy, large language models versus small language models.
I think this is a very interesting question because as the buzzword is there, we want to do a lot of stuff into generative AI. But unfortunately, when you look at the cost, right, a lot of plans goes for the toss. So there are different ways that internally we have tried to optimize this. For smaller use cases, we have tried to use open source models. We have used less quantized models so that you can try to run them on the CPU, which is quite ubiquitous now. Then for certain specific cases, you would try to run things through GPUs as well. Let's say for conversational related kind of applications that we have, what we have tried to do is try to route the problems to different LLMs. So you end up using a mix of LLMs. So the idea is that, let's say you wanted to ask a particular question, but the summarization part, right, whatever history is there, you try to run through a smaller LLM, get all the gist of it, and then basically you route it to a larger LLM. This is kind of typically one of the strategy that is used. Other than that, for cases where you don't want really to, I mean, there are other than the chatbot kind of cases, what we have found out is the data is the most crucial part in all this thing. It is typically like garbage in and garbage out, right? You have to have, or rather spend a lot of time in making sure that the data is really clean, really right. It doesn't have any biases. At least try to remove all the biases that are, whatever are possible. So that way, your LLM will give you a much better response, or your AI models will give you much better responses. So I think these are the major kind of things that we have been dealing with. Apart from that, from the cost perspective, we have also kind of tried to use a lot of service providers which are new in this game.
Okay.
So the advantage with that is that probably they might give you a better deal, and you can use them as well, right? So that's primarily
That's what it is. So a mixture is what sort of you're saying. I might sound biased if I go again back to Manish, who's also from the financial side. So I'll hold on. I will wanted to bring in anyone here who wants to talk about how these decisions related to which model should I go about, the general costs around it. Anybody wants to address it from your experience? Ram?
I think based on the business need, as we all believe, one size doesn't fit to all. In our case, we went for cloud model, as we didn't want to invest huge amount when we started this journey. So we subscribed to the cloud-based, and that's how we started our journey. We continue to use cloud model only. Now we are ready to reach the stage of having our own LLM running in our own premise. We have not yet reached there. So choosing cloud has helped us to keep the costs under control and still evaluate the use cases for the business. That's
Okay, fantastic. Manish, you head the GenAI platform area. So how do you run the whole show of the infrastructure?
So there is a lot of talk about these small language models, but it is still not very common that every company is doing it. Now, second thing, what happens is you can very well go ahead and host some of these large language models in a cloud provider and other things. Unless you have enough use cases, still there will be a high cost because you would be using a very large instance and other things. So what happens? Sometimes it helps that you use a managed service where you pay only for the time that you are using it. And what happens is these are specialized companies who are AI giants, and their focus and their business is to build model. And using them sometimes really helps. You get the best of the word that is available, but you can use it in an optimized way. There are other ways also. Just because a model is expensive doesn't mean that your solution need to be costly. There are guardrails. How do you do the prompting? There are various other techniques are also there where you can bring down the cost. So those are the also options.
Excellent. I'm just going to go again back on this side, which is I promised the audience that we will ask the ROI question. ROI metrics. I know we are all from different industry. Just even if it overlaps, we don't care. So a couple of ROI metrics, just state those two and we can go on this entire loop here.
Yeah, I think the convenience is one of the big ROI that we are really looking into, whether it is really solving a problem. We probably try to do small things first, try to build a small models, and then eventually, if it really is driving your objective, then you will end up actually making it big. So I think this is what we are trying to, we end up doing.
Okay. I didn't want to actually hold you there, but how is convenience measurable? Because that's the challenge, right? Because the senior stakeholders really wanted a number. Give me this. How do you really translate convenience? Is there some thought in your firm?
Usually it is the time that you can measure it in time, you can measure it in cost, man days as well. So basically,
Okay.
if you are reducing the time and the cost, right, that is all measurable, and that is
Okay.
definitely something that we can
So
measure.
you translate that and show it as a cost. So whether the bottom line increase or the top, sorry, the bottom line decreasing and the top line increasing is what you're looking at. Fantastic. Thank you. Ashutosh.
Okay, so I'd like to address this as into two segments, the direct impact on the ROI and the indirect impact on the ROI. Direct is very simple, straightforward mathematics. Your profit plus cost saving minus the total cost of ownership. That's the straight standard formula. Now, in order to measure the direct impact, if the GenAI ecosystem is creating a category which can in future or in present can start delivering numbers, absolute numbers on my, what do you call, MIS, it's a straightforward advantage. It's a very direct. Now, the question is on the indirect side, as how we are going to measure whether GenAI is actually giving me the right returns. So basically, are we gaining productivity, productivity gains for that matter from people? And as Tushar rightly picked, I measure it through man days saved. You know, that's one element. Second element is 80% of my workforce was doing, let's say, X exercise, and with that, this was the outcome. Now, with GenAI, the same 80% is creating a category which is going to give me business, saving 80% of the effort, and 20% on just ensuring the quality coming from the GenAI is sellable or not. So actionable to sellable, yeah.
Okay, so productivity gains and what we heard is convenience also translated to productivity gains. It's a rapid fire. I wanted quick answers. Ram.
It is operational efficiency is what I would call. When I went to my CFO for the budget approval for, AI,
Operational efficiency.
operational efficiency, how much man hours we can save. So that one parameter that I use. The second very important parameter that I use, we are a 74-year-old organization. So there is a legacy that we carry forward. When it comes to automation and adoption of technology, there is a huge challenges. So using AI, how we could address that challenge, which we have shown in results. These are the two parameters that I use.
Okay, thank you so much, Ram. What do you, Edwin?
So we use a lot of non-monetary KPIs to track it. For example, for every chatbot, GenAI chatbot that we release, we give them out like a dashboard talking about the number of users, repeat users. There's also feedback for those responses so that the content can be curated. How many responses came back. A lot of those where we really see the human engagement piece of it. And I think that drives a lot of factor. The idea is when you typically talk of an ROI, you are talking of reducing something or replacing it with something, right? But here we believe it in the process of it actually augmenting. And that's what we are actually saying that is the benefit of generative AI. So a lot of the KPIs, we are not talking of, okay, you're putting in X and you're going to get back Y. It's all about the human engagement piece that we are talking
Understood. Okay, thank you so much. Navneet?
Yeah, so in our case, there is an internal metric for it, how much efficient we are becoming in our operations, with the lesser number of people, the larger outcome or the turnaround time is improving or not. And then there are, of course, external KPIs, right? So whatever data about the crop identification disease we are generating, we are investing enough so that we are best in that industry. Other people, instead of building, right, that technology, are finding value in leasing it out from us, right? So that's the amount of investment we have on our Excel sheet. And then we take this product to sustainability company, to traceability companies, to financial institution, and we sell this data, actually.
Understood. Thanks, Navneet. Quickly from
So,
Manish.
yeah, three quick things. First thing is money. That means are you generating more revenue or you are saving cost? Second thing, which is productivity, is the same as saving costs. Third thing, which I want to add, is skill. If there's a skill which is difficult to find, if there is a skill which we have not been able to sort of bring in, if that is also being solved, that I also will treat as a revenue. Yeah.
Excellent. Sudeep?
Thank you. Just one other dimension. ROI for the business use cases is there, but for the clinical ones, it is the clinical outcome which is the driver for us. So in this case, we have a slight difference than the rest of
Us.
Thank you.
Right. I mean, it's important. You cannot afford to fail in the health side for sure.
Yes,
Completely
yes.
understand. Thank you so much. Okay, we are, time's up is what it shows, and we are coming to a point. Can we have 5 minutes maximum? I was promised. Okay, thanks. Because how can we leave a generative AI conversation without people? It's all about talent. How do we nurture talent? And I can throw the floor open for anybody to pick this up. Maybe Ashutosh, you can start off.
So, in India, and that too in Bangalore, and talking about talent, it's enormous. Look at the room. We have talent everywhere. It's about attention. When it comes to GenAI, are we giving the right attention towards utilizing it? And when it comes to, for example, GenAI cannot be a horizontal offering. A full stack or an AI ML engineer who knows to build a, let's say, LLM model or a product or a tech product should not only have a horizontal understanding, should also go deeper on the vertical. Example, for BFSI, as we have many BFSI leaders here. So an engineer who knows customer 360 data platform in which profile mapping for a particular consumer plays a pivotal role, and I can solve that problem with GenAI, has the edge. In EdTech, somebody who can build an application and knows how a question bank can be made into a tangible business and builds a product around it, gives to a management, has an edge. So, in a nutshell, don't think from a horizontal perspective. The use cases can never be in horizontal. It should solve a deeper problem. It should solve a vertical problem. And if you're able, if that talent is able to curate a solution himself with his knowledge, nothing better than that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Ashutosh. I know talent, we can... Quickly, yeah.
One thing, Bangalore is a city of, coders and programmers. A lot of these use cases are, 70% software engineering and 30% generative AI. So you're already there. There's an additional step, additional push that is needed, which is, information is available. There's a lot of, free information, free courses which are available. It is the only willingness that is required.
Okay, thank you, Manish, for that.
Just steal another 10 seconds. Yeah, sorry. So partner with us vendor who is already at advanced stage in GenAI and who brings up a lot of ecosystem which can be leveraged within my own ecosystem. My team, my workforce can leverage that as an advantage is another pivotal area. We have done it and we have seen exceptional result. A good appreciation from workplace or workforce also came in through. So.
Thank you. Partnership definitely builds credibility and talent. Understood. Thank you. Before we close, I just wanted to take any questions from the audience. Anyone so interested in this panel discussion who want to ask a question? Okay, I see lots of hands going up. Okay. All right. Maybe we should conclude now. One best practice, the last point, and this is just a two-phrase, if that's possible. Any of you can pick up one best practice for taking generative AI to the next levels.
Keep the human in the loop. Don't underestimate the value of curated content.
Fantastic, Edwin. Ram?
Start small, scale fast.
Can you?
Start small, scale fast.
Scale fast. Fantastic. Okay. Navneet or Manish?
So one thing which you can do is that it is no longer a mystery. There are ways you can understand it also. How does the things happen? Guardrails are there. Trust that. make a scientific decision around it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Fantastic. Okay. And Navneet, you have anything to say?
Yeah,
Best
I think
practice?
it would be, don't keep the ROI questions out of the boardroom. Sooner or later, for this to create impact and scale, we have to address the economics as well.
Excellent, excellent. Ashutosh, yourself?
I think clean data is something that is irreplaceable. I think that is what you have to focus on that.
Absolutely spot on. Yep. Clean data.
Yeah, I mean, fail fast. You learn, fail fast, relearn. And of course, GenAI at the center, there's no way that you'll fail forever. You'll definitely have a steady path ahead. So,
Okay, thank you. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, with an amazing panelist that we have had here coming and speaking about. And generative AI, as I said, as a concept can be spoken for on and on. We can put some bets here and we can all sleep, interact a lot, but that's not how this panel discussion goes. So thank you so much, fellow panelists. I still feel that GPT-10 is very far away and our jobs are still secure as we start to work on Monday onwards. With that, thanks to Quantech for getting us all together. That's the most important thing, and sharing our experience with this audience here. Thank you, fellow panelists. Thank you so much. Take care. Cheers.